Welcome everyone to our Long Options webcast. I'm Connie Hill. I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy that you have joined me. How many of you have been hearing a little bit of talk about the quote Santa Claus rally? Well, you're going to start hearing a little bit of that verbiage as we get further into the month of December. We're going to talk about exactly what the Santa Claus rally is, what days it actually includes according to the Trader's Almanac, and we're going to use it as a basis for some of the things that we are going to do here today. Now, I am joined in the chat. I believe I'll be joined by Cameron May, and he's here to maybe field some questions I can't get to, but happy to have that assistance from him. And if you do have questions, chat them in. Now, those of you that have questions that are listening to the recording, because I know lots of you do, when you have a question, put it in the comments section. I go back and visit those questions throughout the week and get your questions answered for you as well. Now, I hope you're following me on X. I am Connie Hill, CS. Cameron is Cameron May, CS. We'll post educational content throughout the week, things that we might notice during the day, maybe charts that look interesting, things that we think you might find interesting as well. We like to post and share that. So please give us a follow. It's free. It's pretty easy to do as well. Let's go through some disclosures and we will lay out our agenda for today. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. What we talk about today should be considered informational and educational in nature. Do not consider it a recommendation. We will be using the Pay4Money software application. This is what you download to your computer. It's the most robust version of Thinkorswim. That's what we'll be using here today. So if yours looks a little bit different, you might be on the web version. All right. There is no guarantee that execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price. Past performance of any security or strategy does not guarantee future results or success. Now, in terms of our agenda today, we always want to talk a little bit about the concept of long options, and hopefully all of you have been exposed to that strategy. Hopefully you've already been through Barb Armstrong's classes that she does continually about getting started with options. And this is the only strategy that we focus on in this class. And so I'll put some parameters around what we're looking for that might help us, okay? We always want to discuss options in terms of price, time, and volatility, because those are the factors that can influence the price of an option. We are going to look at a lot of option trades today. Now, I do see Riceford has posted in the chat some Santas after my little teaser about the Santa Claus rally. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, things you need to know about long options. This is just hopefully a refresher for most of you. Long options are when you actually buy the call or buy the put. Okay. We need the stock to move if we go ahead and do that. We need the stock to move directionally. We don't like it going sideways. In fact, if it does go sideways, that's when time really starts to decay on the value of that option. So we try to look for some moves that maybe can happen fairly quickly. These are not necessarily buy and hold type opportunities. Long options are also Vega positive, which means Vega, as it increases, can increase the value of the option, or if it drops, it could influence negatively the price of that option and dropping it. The most you can lose on an option trade, a long option, is how much you paid for it, that net debit. And so we want to be cognizant of that. We want to, when we're sizing up what kind of a trade we want to do and how much we want to risk, we want to be cognizant that that is our max loss and position size to it. All right, so again, price, time, and volatility are the main factors impacting an option. And if you have something that, a question regarding a price, time, and volatility as we're going through our discussion, make sure to raise it. Now, we are going to take a look at, we're going to go over to Thinkorswim here. Now, with an SPX chart. Now, I want to talk about this Santa Claus rally. Now, typically the month of December traditionally has been a decently bullish month in the market, but it's not guaranteed to be, okay? And you'll notice some talk starting to come out about, hey, are we starting to see the Santa Claus rally? Well, according to Trader's Almanac, there are only 7 days that qualify to be in the Santa Claus rally. Okay, those are going to be the last 5 trading days of December and the first 2 trading days of January. So looked at my calendar to see what days those actually would fall this year. And so it will be December 24th. Markets will be closed on the 25th for Christmas. And then the 26th through the 31st will be 31st will be those 5 trading days in December. And then we get to start trading on January 2nd because New Year's falls in the middle of the week. So we'll be having January 2nd, January 3rd. I believe that's a Thursday and a Friday. And that will complete our Santa Claus rally. Now, some people like to get positioned up for that prior to it actually happening. Okay, meaning trying to take advantage of this. Now, I want you guys to answer this question in the chat. Where are you finding some strength in the market? Sometimes the markets are a little bit flat, a little bit down, and then towards the end of the day, maybe they rally a little bit, but it just seems like we're getting higher highs and higher lows, right? But as kind of zoom in here on the SPX, and we're seeing, oh my goodness, another all-time high on the SPX. So we're seeing this grind continue to go. Now, in the past, we have used ADX. Average Directional Index, and it gives us an idea of how strong the trend strength is. So if it's a number 25 or higher, that tells us as a trader, oh, the trend of whatever it is we're looking at is fairly strong. So we're on the SPX here, and the number over on the far right, that 23, and that's the number that's right here when we're on today, that lets us know what the strength is. Anything 25 or higher, that gives us an idea, okay, the trend is fairly strong. This being at 23, it's not quite as strong as something at 25 or 30 or 40, but it is actually moving the right direction for bullishness. Now, when I ask you about, where are you seeing strength in the markets? David says consumer discretionary. All right. It's really interesting. If we just jump over here real quickly to our visualize on the S&P 500, there's some things that stand out and some things that are interesting in that you guys know about the what do we call these guys? The Mag 7, the Magnificent 7 that seem to be the big oxes pulling along the market. And so we've seen a lot of strength in some of those stocks, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple's been participating in this. Tesla, although I'm not sure if we consider it some of the part of the 7, but it and Amazon, definitely larger cap stocks, really when they're positive on any given day, you'll notice that the overall market has a tendency to be stronger as well. So my audio's cutting out on you, says Rob. Rob, I'm sorry about that. I hope it doesn't continue to do that. Our producers will be on top of that. They'll be able to notice if there's a difficulty in the audio coming through and see how they can help that. So hopefully that does not bother anybody else. Now, when we talk about the Santa Claus rally and we think, okay, the market has been fairly bullish in the month of December or November, and we expect it in November. We did have a nice bullish November. The idea is maybe we want to find who those stocks are that produced really well in November and maybe ride those throughout the Santa Claus rally. Okay, maybe position ourselves for that right now. So I have several trades outlined for us to do. They're all going to be long call options. It's not going to be a big surprise, all right? And we want to buy enough time that we can go through the Santa Claus rally. So if we know we would like to be trading through January 3rd, if it's possible and we haven't met exit conditions or whatever, right? Let's see what we can ride. Now, somebody earlier in the chat said, SoundHound is going crazy, S-O-U-N. Let's bring that up here. And yeah, it's up right now about 31%, was up even a little higher than that. And you can see even before their earnings, they're down here at $5. So yeah, this guy's hair's on fire, right? It is just blazing up there. Sometimes that can be a little tricky to trade because of how far up it's gone. And well, we know with major growth stocks, many times they'll run up really hard and then they'll fall really hard. Okay, so even though this is one that showed up on my scan that I'm going to show you here real quick, use caution in any of these, okay, because we're looking for the big mover. So I just built this little scan. And you're going to see, it was a derivative of my early morning mover scan. That's what I started with. But essentially, we're going to look for stocks that are at least $10. And for our purposes today, we're going to cap it at 100. You know, some of those stocks that are really high price stocks, Netflix, Tesla, things of that nature, their options are really expensive. And so it makes it difficult for a long haul trader sometimes to get into some of those positions. So we're going to put a max on it of 100. Your budget and the size of your portfolio might not need that, okay? I'm looking for at least a little bit of movement today. So that's why I have the percent change being up 1.5%. You could play around with that if you wanted to. Then I'm looking for big volume, okay? Over the last 30 days, we want these stocks to have at least 2 million on average. Okay, hopefully that will lead us into more liquid stocks, more liquid options, makes it more efficient for us as a trader when we find a lot of open interest that gets some narrow bid-ask spreads. And then the last variable here is looking for the price to change. And we're looking, we are looking, this is I'm going to say a decent request, okay? We're looking for it to be 20% higher than it was basically a month ago, 21 days ago. That's what we're looking for. Now you compound, say 20% over 12 months, that would be an atrocious amount, okay? So the idea here is we're looking for the movers and we're looking to tag along on the movers if we have a decent entry on them, okay? Now, right now, these are the stocks that came up. Doesn't mean that you might find them. I haven't refreshed this. You're going to see I only had 22 results, and actually this keeps varying, okay, throughout the day when I've been running it, just for the fun of it. Let's see if we get more entries or less entries now. We went up 3 entries, okay? If you were truly looking for those stocks that have been outperforming the markets, you might not use this little stock percent change. I'm looking for that because I want there to be some sort of a potential entry here today, maybe a hold entry or a bounce entry of some sort. But if you're only looking for performance, you might leave that off, okay? And then you'd get a much larger watch list of stocks. All right. Sergeant Chuck is wondering if there's a video that goes more into depth on the ADX study. You're not familiar with that one. There's a couple things you can do if you're interested in a particular study, just even some quick learning. If we come over here to the charts and I go to my studies and I bring up ADX, I like to just do it alphabetically, and he's one of the top ones here. If you select on this little question mark, it gives you some decent information about what the study is. It'll go into how it's calculated. And if you're like, I really want to go into deep detail about it, you can hit down here. It's kind of small print, but it says more details, and it'll give you more information about how it's calculated. Okay, I'm not aware of any particular video. I teach this from time to time, basically saying, hey, let's see if the trend of this stock is strong. And if it is, it's going to be a consideration. If it's not, we're not going to add it. Okay, hopefully that just gives you a little bit. Let's go back here to the scan results. And I'll show you some things I put on my list of columns that's also going to help act as a filter. All right. You can customize your columns by coming over here to the gear on the far right, hit customize, and put anything you want in here, okay? What I added to focus on was 1 month percent change, the ADX, and I wanted the last price in here. You'll also notice I have volume, because sometimes, like if we look at, I've got it sorted here on 1 month performance right here. So if the stocks that came back right now, the one that's up the most is this DXYZ. Has over 3 million in volume, 3.5 million today. It's up over 215% in a month. Now that's kind of staggering, okay? This is very unusual. And it might be a little bit difficult to trade something like that that's just on the move. And sometimes some of these stocks are not very expensive. And so maybe they go from a $2 stock to a $4 stock or something like that. So check out the price here as well. Now, for purposes of what we're doing today, most of my examples, they came off of what was showing up here earlier. The first one's going to be Roblox. All right, let's come over here, take a look at the chart on Roblox. And let me come back here. I'm going to select on that one, and then that should shoot it over. So we can see what's been happening over the last 6 months here. And then I'm going to just kind of zoom in here to recently. So this stock announced their earnings back here in November, got a huge pop, little pullback, and it's continued to run up. Right now, what has it done? It's had a nice little run up. It's had a little pullback, and it looks like it is really close to a hold type entry. Okay, so let's just kind of see, all right, where's our low day? And it looks like yesterday was actually the low day. The low was 22.34, but the high of the low day was a 24 even. So we're looking for today for it to close at 24.01 or higher. So it's just barely above it right now. We can't be here together to watch the closing bell. So if we're a decent way through the day and we like what we're seeing there, maybe even though we don't know if it's going to close there for certain, because we don't, we're going to go ahead and take some action on this. Okay, so Rocket Lab, let's go look at the trade tab. Now, with this idea in mind that we want to allow these to make hopefully a little bit of a run even before the Santa Claus rally starts, and then trade it into the Santa Claus rally, we're going to be very specific about what we're looking for. All our trades we are going to be doing on these January 17th monthlies, okay? You'll see most of them have some really decent open interest. We love to see that. Usually that means there's a narrower bid-ask spread. Then one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look for a 60 to 70 delta. We're going to be going a little bit in the money because most of these stocks have high implied volatility, like you can see over here on the right. Yeah, really high, which means they're expensive options. So if we buy a little bit more in the money, then maybe we can buy a little bit more intrinsic value compared to the extrinsic value and not have it be so much time value. And so for this one, let's see if this one still looks pretty decent. We were looking to do the 23 call. It's a 62 delta. If you wanted to be even more conservative, you could go look at a 68 delta, but we want at least a 0.6, but looking in the range 0.6 to 0.7. All right, so January 23 seems to fit the bill there, and you can see lots of open interest and just a 20-cent wide spread. Many times we can get that for midpoint price, right? Sometimes paper money is nice to us. Sometimes the market is too, but if we didn't get filled on a midpoint, we'd go back and look at it again. Try to make sure we get filled. So I am going to move this a little bit closer to the midpoint price. We'll go 365. It's not a ton. And on here, what we're going to do is we're going to put on a stop loss only. And the stop loss we're going to put on is 50% of the price of the option. Okay, so if things really kind of jerk down, the hold doesn't follow through, it should come down and tag that 50% stop loss. And then hopefully, as if the stock moves up like we would love it to, then we're going to adjust that stop. We're going to bring it to a break-even point. Then we're going to start locking in some gains if indeed it does go. The idea here is this is not a short 5-day trade. The idea here would be to, have some nice upswing, maybe a little pullback, nice upswing. And this is in Connie's ideal world, right? It's probably in your ideal world as well. However, we don't always get it. But let's go ahead, let's set this up. In this class, we're willing to risk $1,000 per trade. So how many contracts can we do? We should only do 2. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll do the 2. And we're going to do a first trigger sequential. And we're going to create an opposite order here. And we're going to put in, collapse that. Okay. I was going to try to give us a little bit more room so we could see it, but it's not looking that great. All right, let's go ahead with it anyway. 50% of 365 is going to be what? Is that going to be $1? Should we go $1.60 on it? Make sure that's right. No, it's going to be a little bit more than that. Okay, I will use the calculator here. Let's go 365 times 0.5. So $1.80. All right, we're going to go to $1.80 here. It's not going to be a limit order. It's going to be a stop order. Okay, but again, we're going to be active with this little stop loss and moving it up. Make this good till canceled. And we might even get filled at a little better price. Now the midpoint price is at 360. So let's go 360. We're going to go ahead and send this on. And we'll put this in our long options bucket, which we don't have any trades in there right now. I hope you enjoyed a nice Thanksgiving last Thursday. I did as well. So of course we can have our class. All right. Looks like we got filled at a decent price. All right. Thank you, Sim. Sim was being my math genie in the chat. Appreciate that. Okay. What's up next? Let's go see what else we can find from our little scan. And you can see it's a pretty simple scan. Something I should remind you of, though, is that because we are using studies for these two variables right here, the filter of study is only functional in your live account. It's not functional in paper money. Okay, so if you were trying to duplicate this scan, do it on your live account, get the results, share that watch list with yourself. Just do open shared item with the URL of your watch list. Boom, you've got it. Okay, and those of you on Windows machines, you can have both paper and live up on a same session, especially if you have a lot of decent memory on your computer, all right, to handle that. All right, next one up. Let's see if it's on here still. It is. Here we have IONQ. It's an IT stock. 25 million shares traded today already. It's up 122%. Okay. Now, I also need to tell you here, we are looking at these trades as very aggressive, every single one of them. Okay, because we looked for this extreme growth in just a 1 month time frame. These are all I would consider very aggressive and speculative. Okay, let's bring this one up. IONQ. We can see what this stock has been doing here. Now, let's zoom in. And you can see after it had its earnings, that's when this big run really started to kick in. And when I run my early morning mover scan about the time that this broke out, it has been showing up really frequently. And so it just kind of gets your attention. And I'm going to show you a little bit longer graph here for just a minute. Let's go to a 3-year weekly, because I just want you to see the extent of this major flagpole. I mean, it is really quite huge. Now, if you look at it here, you're like, yeah, it's not approaching a high. It's probably kind of near its all-time highs. How I would view this is what the stock seems to do. Has a sharp run up for a couple days, pulls back a little bit, runs up again, pulls back a little bit. Just kind of this stair-stepping thing. And so some people might go, oh, well, look, there's 2 days, maybe that's at resistance. And it very well could be short-term resistance. But the idea here is that we're actually getting our hold. All right, if we look at these candles here, our hold day actually was yesterday, I believe. And no, it wasn't. Today is our hold day. All right, this is the low in the pullback. The high that day is 33.68. Make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yeah, 33.68. It didn't close there yesterday. It is today. Okay, so again, oops, wrong direction here. Give you some perspective. We're going to look at this as, again, going deeper in the money. We're going to look at the January 17 options. We're going to do that for all of them. with this idea, trading the Santa Claus rally, maybe getting a head start on it here earlier in December. Looking at our delta here, we've got a 63 and a 77. Okay, so 77, if that were maybe our only choice in the 70s, we might use that. This one, 63 delta, this is the one we're going to use. That's going to give me the 35 strike price here. All right, so let's go ahead. 620 by 640, pretty efficient. Lots of open interest, lots of volume today, even on some of these strike prices. Okay, so same thing. We're going to just do a long call on it. We're going to put on a 50% stop loss because of the price of this option. And we typically position size for a maximum loss, meaning you could lose it all. Then in this case, what we want to do is just do one contract. Okay, that's all right. We're going to make this a first trigger sequential, create an opposite order, and let's use our little calculator. 6.3 times 0.5 is going to give us 315. We're going to change this. I know it's been jumping around a little bit, but we're going to go with the 315. And remember on these, the stop loss, it's not guaranteed to fill us at 315, but the idea is if the price of the option gets there, then we need it to trigger. It's going to trigger a market order that says get us out at the next available price. All right, so we got that. We've got our good till canceled. And again, the same idea here. If it pulls back a little bit, it shouldn't hit our stop. Okay, but we would love to see a little bit more grinding action, a little high, a little pullback, run up a little bit more, slight pullback. That's what we'd like to see. So we don't want to really choke it with a stop loss. Okay, that's why we're going to be gradual about moving it up and have this idea. Hey, we want to still be in this trade the first week in January. Doesn't mean we will, but that's what we're going for. Let's go ahead and put this in our long options bucket. We're going to set it off. Just looking at the chat here. Trailing stops. Oh, okay. Somebody may have had a question about trailing stops. Thank you for fielding that question. It was Kevin said, how about using a trailing stop to manage moving up for us? That is a great idea, Kevin. I think when you get your profits to a certain point, that some people like to do that. They need to make sure with options, especially, you give it enough wiggle room. If you were only to give it say, on an option here that costs $6.25 and you put on a trailing stop loss of, say, 20 cents, you'll probably get triggered out pretty quick. All right, so the tricky part is figuring out how much leeway do I need to give the trailing stop, okay? So you could do that, okay? It is a little trickier for some traders, and some traders have figured out a methodology that they're comfortable with, okay? For our purposes, what we're gonna do is we have our 50% stop loss. When we get the price of the option, suppose it gets up to what we get filled at, we'll go ahead and adjust our stop loss. We'll put it at a break-even point. We'll say, okay, whatever we paid for it, we want to at least get that out of it. And then we'll continue to maybe ratchet it up, being very active on these stop losses. And with long calls and long puts, you have to be, for the most part, paying attention to them. Don't set it and go on the cruise for 3 weeks, okay? You really want to be paying attention to it. All right, let's see if we can see another one here from our scan, see if it's still showing up here. This one's a little bit interesting, and I've been kind of watching it. It is another one. The CRDO has been one that's been showing up on our early morning mover scan. Trading over 4 million today so far. It's up 58%. It's got a strong ADX here. I forgot to mention that to you, that a strong ADX, it's above 25. This one's a 36. Roblox that we started out with, or Rocket Lab rather, has a 57 ADX. Okay, so we're like, okay, we like the strength of these trends. All right, let's pull up Credo here and see what's happened. This thing gapped up huge. This company, I think it's this company, when I checked out the news on it, and that's kind of a fun thing to do, is see what's making it move. I was thinking was this company or another one that had a new agreement. Looks like they got some upgrades, higher target price. This one's saying 65, which is a little bit lower than where it actually is right now. In any case, what are we seeing technically? The ADX is nice and strong up here at 36. Anything above 25 says strong trend. But the higher that number goes, the stronger the trend is. So we love to see it in these higher numbers, higher than 25. Stock gapped up. Many times the bottom of the gap will act as support for a stock. And I don't remember what it was up this day, but it was really enormous. Okay, so it's kind of like, have some caution here. This thing could pull back. It could pull back to the bottom of the gap. And what it's looking like here today, yesterday's candle looked like kind of a bearish candle. It was not as strong of a piercing line as I would like to see. A strong piercing line comes well within the body of the bullish days candle. And so this one just kind of came into it a little bit, but we saw it was running out of a little fizz here. But then what's it doing today? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's up 1.83% already. And so it doesn't look like it wanted to come down and test the bottom of the gap there. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing. In fact, we're going to go to the trade tab. Your entry signal that you look for might be different. Okay. And one other thing I wanted to mention to you is sometimes we will see in the market some stocks that just like keep going up and they don't pull back. And you're like, it doesn't give me an entry. It doesn't give me a pullback point. Okay. And so sometimes the best we get is something like this, where we do get a little pullback in the previous day's candle. And then the next day it just kind of looks like it wants to continue the trend. Now, obviously we're not guaranteed that it's going to. But in this case, where we might want to put a stop is if it breaks the bottom of this gap. Okay, if it really goes down below there, yeah, we want to be out. Looks like the low is 64. My line's a little bit different than that. My line's a little bit short of that. So let's do this. We're going to know the low is 64. Let's put our stop on this one. All right, we're going to do it a little bit differently, and I'm going to need my scratch pad here. And we're going to give it the leeway of, let's go to 63.80. Okay, 63.8 is where we're going to put in our stop on this one. So this one's going to be based on the price of the stock, not the price of the option. Now, as we come over here to our trade tab, $69 stock. Again, we've got some January options. This particular stock has just monthly options as opposed to weeklies. It's just very new. Like we saw that it's starting to get a lot of trading activity. Yeah, Teresa says Credo is in the information technology sector. Yeah, it does. Oh, let's see. True says it does not show which industry it's in. Let's go back to the scan. It might have been missing that. You're right. It is a technical stock, though. Not sure why it's not populating as such, but it is, yeah, an information technology stock. So we're looking for a 60 to 70 delta, looking to be in the money. Okay. So here is a 68 delta. If we wanted to be more aggressive, somebody could do an out of the money option, but our idea here again, because implied volatility is high, and trying to go a little deeper in the money and see if we can get, a higher move in the price of the option, because we're starting with a little bit higher delta, right? Because on the first dollar of movement, we're going to expect our option to increase in value if it's $1 up, about 68 cents, right? That's what the delta tells us roughly. It's not guaranteed, but it's nice to have a little bit of a ballpark. All right, decent open interest, all right, and risking $1,000 per trade means we can do one of these contracts. So we'll stick with our one, and we'll make it a first trigger sequential, create an opposite order, and remember on this one, we're going to make it be based on the price of the stock. So we're going to change this to, I'm going to change this to a market order. I don't know, it's been a little weird. Let's see here. Let us do good till canceled. Let's try to change it over here. There we go. All right, so we're going to look for Credo on the mark price to be less than or equal to, that's where we're going to put our 63.80. So it's not based on the price of the option, it's based on what the stock does coming down below where that bottom of the gap is. It should trigger for us a market order. We don't know what the price will be when it gets triggered, if it gets triggered. Again, our intent will be to move it up as the price of the stock hopefully increases for us. If it hits our stop, then it's starting to break down. We don't want to be in it anymore. Okay, so 63.80 based on the price of the stock here. We're going to hit save. And oh, it's trading a little bit cheaper here. Let's go close to the midpoint price. We'll go down just a little bit here. We're going to put it in, again, our long options bucket. So we're just kind of doing the same thing, right? We are identifying the stock, getting a January option, looking for that 60 to 70 delta. Every single one of these are very similar to each other, okay? With the idea that that's what we're trying to do, trade it during the month of December, maybe, hopefully a little bit into January for the Santa Claus rally and that. PLTR is doing that. That's one that came up on the scan here. In fact, it's not the next one I was going to do, but we could do this one. I'll tell you on this one. Where did he go on here? PLTR, there he is. 59 million shares traded today. It's up in the last month about 30%. So yeah, this is definitely a moving volatile stock. Let's go ahead. Its ADX is at 57. It's like, oh, lovely. We like that, right? Let's go look at its chart here. Now, remember I was saying just a minute ago that sometimes stocks don't look like they're trying to pull, that they're giving you an entry. They just kind of keep going. And you're like, hey, give me a pullback to get in on, or give me a firm breakout to get in on. And maybe it doesn't do it a lot. So what we're going to see here, had a nice, strong bullish day here 2 days ago. Yesterday, it was, you know, the candle formation there looks like similar to a hanging man, okay? It's nice if the hanging man's maybe up a little higher, but has the shadow to the downside. It definitely was bearish on the day. So we would think, last night, we would think, oh, it might reverse on us, but it didn't, okay? It didn't reverse on us, and it is continuing up. Its ADX is strong. If its ADX wasn't strong, we might maybe not feel quite as comfortable or confident about it. But in this case, we're going to say, okay, you're giving us a little pullback. Let's take advantage of it. Again, our January options, 60 to 70 delta. Now, we've got a 61 delta, which we could use. We're going to go a little deeper in the money here. We're going to go with this 68 delta. Again, not as extreme implied volatility as some stocks have had, but this stock, yeah, it moved 30% in the last 21 days. It's definitely a mover. So we're going to go with the 67.50 strike. There's plenty of open interest. 10-cent spread on an $8 contract is just lovely. We can just so appreciate that. And we're just going to do the same thing. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. All right, first trigger sequential. We're going to create an opposite order. And on this one, we could use the price of the option, which I think we'll do. If somebody wanted to do it based on the price of the stock, you might want to come back here, you know, maybe to the low on this day, you know, that if the stock gets lower than that, then maybe it's not going the right direction on us, right? Because it would be pulling back on both of those 2 previous days worth of data. Would want to keep it fairly tight. The low here is 66.15. So if you wanted to do it based on the price of the stock, you could consider that. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to do the 50% again. All right. So we're going to put this in here for $4, and I will just round it to the 5 cents. Okay. $4.05, the price of the option. We're only doing one. Again, this is going to become a stop loss order for it. We're going to make it good till canceled. It'll trigger that market order. We don't know what our fill price would actually be, but we're hoping it would be something close to that 405. But if not, if they can't fill at that value, we're still going to get filled. We're still going to get out of the trade because we need to be out of the trade. All right, confirm and send, and into our long options bucket. All right. Now let me just check here in the chat as we wrap up here if there might be more questions here. If you didn't know, for example, what CRDO was, because it wasn't showing what sector it was in. Let's go back here real quick. Something I might do is come to the Analyze tab and come over to Fundamentals. Okay, and on the Fundamentals page, many times you'll see information about the company. Now, this one isn't showing it. I may have looked it up on the Schwab website and read a little bit about what they did. You can also come here in the live news to get a feel for what they are. Okay, but really not a lot of fundamental data with it yet, but I imagine it's going to grow, right? If stock keeps popping up, then it's probably going to get some notice in the markets. All right. Well, you guys, it looks like we have completed what we wanted to do, but for you guys, what would I want you to do? If you want to paper trade some of these examples, right? They're just class example trades along with me, and you have questions as you're trading it, go ahead and hit me up on X or hit me up on the recording to this class and ask me your question. Okay, you can ask specific to the trade, and I can say, hey, for our class trade example, this is what we're doing, or we've adjusted the stop loss or something of that nature. Okay, so feel free to ask those questions. Now today I did want to pack in a lot of trades, which we didn't have ones we could follow up on. So 4 new fresh trades from that scan that I showed you. It's not that complicated. I think you guys could build that, at least I hope you could, with 4 parameters on it. All right, if not, look at this again, go back to the video and try to build that. See maybe opportunities you might feel comfortable with. There might be some that you weed out because you're like, oh, 700% growth in a month, that's a little, maybe too much is too good, right? To be true, to be realistic. But look for the ADX, look for the volume, look for that last price. Make sure it's a stock that you're interested in. All right, you guys, it's time to get going. Brent Moore is going to start us out at the top of the hour. He's going to be teaching all about Schwab.com. And just kind of imparting, if you haven't subscribed to our Trader Talks channel, I don't know what you're waiting for, okay? Because if you do, then it makes it easy to find our classes. Like this is what is up right now. And as we come down here, get to know Schwab.com, then you know what's coming up. If you're like, hey, I want to catch this class next week, but I keep forgetting or whatever, put a little notification in there so YouTube can remind you that it's up and coming, almost going to happen. And then it also allows you to find the playlist if you're looking for something specific. So I'm going to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't, to follow Cameron and I on X, and then join Brent Moore's at the top of the hour for getting to know Schwab.com. Hey, thanks everyone. We'll check on these trades next week. We'll see you then.